but this is a treat for me. The longtime Dodger announcer, Vin Scully, joining us. Good morning, Vin.
Good morning, Dan. How are you?
I'm spectacular.
Well, it's good to know somebody who's spectacular.
Well, I try to set the bar really high. So
yeah, well, you've done that for years.
Well, thank you. Did you ever think we would get to a point where we would compare another left-hander to Sandy Koufax, at least performance-wise, stats-wise, like we have Clayton Kershaw?
Well, people ask me about comparing or linking them together. To me, there is one huge difference. In Sandy's day, he pitched every fourth day. With Kershaw, he pitches every fifth day. What Sandy did in his time was go complete games. Sandy one year won 27 games. He completed 27 games. Well, Clayton will never do that. Clayton, I think, off the top of my head, might have two complete games, one of which was the no-hitter. So there's a vast difference in the pitching. Number two, right now, Clayton Kershaw is striking out a lot of people. In Sandy's day, pitching every fourth day, I mean, one year he struck out something like 320 batters. Well, you never see that. So to me, they each have their separate place, their separate niche. Kershaw belongs in one, and Koufax belongs in the other.
The game has changed, but has your role, your job changed?
No, not at all. I mean, my job basically is to call the play as accurately and as swiftly as possible, get out of the way for the crowd, and perhaps somewhere along the way inform a little bit, entertain even a little bit if something comes up and the opportunity is there. And you put it all together, but the entire job is based on accuracy, whereby the listener or the viewer understands what you're saying and trusts you. I guess trust goes right along with accuracy. I know when we first came out to Los Angeles, I was very fortunate. The game was being played in the Coliseum, which was anything but a baseball park. But good for me, the transistor radio came along. And people knew the stars, but they didn't know the rank and file. So they would bring a transistor radio. So that was my opportunity to inform and also to get closer to the fan and the listener. But the one thing I had to establish was that I was accurate and fair. If I said a Dodger made a good play, I wanted them to know, yes, I work for the Dodgers, but this is an honest call, not just, oh, my gosh, everything the Dodgers do is a great play to that guy. So those are the basis parts of the job, and it never changes.
What about the art of silence?
Oh, I love it. It's probably selfish on my part. When I was about 8 years old, the reason that I eventually went in this direction, and I've told this story many times, we had a big old four-legged radio with a crossbar for support underneath it. And I would get a pillow and a glass of milk and some saltine crackers, and here's this kid in Washington Heights in New York, and I would crawl under the radio on a Saturday afternoon to listen to a football game. Now, I didn't even know the rules of football. It might be Tennessee, Alabama, which meant absolutely nothing to this little kid. But the roar of the crowd absolutely intoxicated me. So that's what drew me to go to sports. Now, even to this day, I try to call the play and shut up so I can also enjoy the roar of the crowd. And I remember doing a World Series many years ago, and somebody hit a home run. And typical of a network, first you see the fella hit the home run, then they show it again. And so in my mind, I thought, well, I've just called it a home run, so I'm not going to say anything. And they showed the tape. And a television columnist wrote, perhaps Vin Scully made his greatest contribution by not saying anything. And I really took that as a compliment, and I've tried to use that forever, including Henry Aaron's home run, Kirk Gibson's home run, et cetera, et cetera.
I can hear the beer vendor sometimes when you're calling a game. Is that on purpose?
Well, No. Whatever the microphones pick up from the crowd, that's another story. I will tell you this, though. In 1958, we were playing at Seal Stadium in San Francisco, and our booth, and that's using the term very loosely, was right amongst the crowd. And we would do our commercials live, and we were sponsored by a beer in Los Angeles. And so I would read my commercial and talking about the merits of the beer in Los Angeles. Well, the crowd in San Francisco thought, great, and they would start hollering every beer brand known to man just to try and get it on the air while I'm trying to stumble along doing the other commercials. So, yeah, there were times when you could hear the beer vendors, and they weren't even vendors.
He's Vin Scully joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Brent Musburger told me something a couple of years ago where he talked about Joe Paterno. Certain people, that's what they're going to do the rest of their life. He said Joe Paterno will coach until he dies. That there's certain people that's just their DNA that they don't want to stop doing. And Brent said he's probably one of those people. Do you find that that's who you are? That's what you do? That's what you'll always do?
Well, I'm not quite sure, to be honest. First of all, the thought of stopping and not doing anything is pretty frightening. After you have been doing it for so long, it really does become a part of your nature. But each year, I really and truly do evaluate where I am as far as health, first of all. My wife and I talk about our particular association. And then I think about, and I carefully try to be my own critic, am I still doing a good enough job to have the privilege of doing the Dodger games? And all of that goes into the mix. So when I say I'll probably make an announcement, and I don't mean it that way, but I'll probably come to a conclusion sometime in August, and we'll see how it plays out. Again, whatever the decision is, I am going to be uneasy one way or the other, I think.
Kind enough to have Vin Scully stay with us. Yeah, looking at the resume here. Been calling games since the 50s. Got to see Jackie Robinson play. It's pretty incredible. Call his games. And Vin Scully back with us, the longtime Dodger announcer. So I was just mentioning, you've been calling games since the 50s. Who's the player you look back and you say with wonderment or fascination that was just, it was a treat to watch him play?
I'm not quite sure that off the top of my head, Dan. I can oversimplify by saying the best player I ever saw, the one who was completely equipped in every phase of the game, was Willie Mays. I could also say that perhaps in his own way, the most exciting player had to be Jackie Robinson because we understood what was going on with him. But a fun player, that for me, that's hard to pin down, in all honesty.
Did you keep scorecards?
You know, I'm terrible. People have always asked me about that, and each year I finish my scorebook and I throw it away.
Oh, no.
Yeah. My wife demands, and I understand, this year I'm going to try and hold on to the scorebook. Yeah, I've had people say, gee, I'd love to see Koufax perfect game. I say, well, so would I. But in all honesty, over the years, if I were a collector, I'd have to own 2 houses, to put all the stuff in there because I've been so privileged to, and it is a privilege, an honor, when Clayton Kershaw and Josh Beckett pitched no-hitters within the month, I had no idea. I honestly had no idea how many no-hitters that I had broadcast, nor did I really care because it's not an accomplishment for me. I just happened to be so fortunate to be on the scene, but it's nothing that I've done. So our PR department went back through the books. I did give them a starting point. I said I remember the very first no-hitter, Vern Bickford of the Boston Braves. It was in Braves Field in Boston my first year. But after that, it's just a blue haze. So they have figured out that I have done 19 no-hitters and 3 perfect games. So I guess you put that all together, it's 22. But the numbers bounced around so much, and I'm not about to sit down and try and go back through the books and figure it out.
Social media play a role? Do you follow it at all, what people say?
No. In fact, I guess it was 2 years ago, we were doing a telecast, and Shane Victorino had just become a Dodger. He was leaving Philadelphia, I believe, coming to Los Angeles, and he sent a message to the team, hold on, I'll be there soon, blah, 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 blah. So the director said to me, Vin, we're going to put it up on the screen, Victorino's message, and take it. So I said, oh, fine. I said to the audience, Shane Victorino has been twitting and sent a twit because I didn't know, and I assumed that if it's Twitter, the message itself is twit. Well, it went viral. People thought it was the funniest thing in the whole world. And, after I knew that it was really a funny thing, and I was certainly at home with it, so about a day or two later doing the telecast, and I said, by the way, because I really try to talk to the listener, I said, by the way, could somebody tell me what the heck a hashtag is? Well, that went viral. And because I'm totally ignorant of all of that stuff. And so what happened was, in order to really use it, the Dodgers said, you know what? The ball club is going to be in New York, and they're going to play 2 games with the Yankees. So we're going to have you tweeting about one of the games. And I said, okay, sure, because I didn't have to go to New York. So sure enough, they were rained out, and they now had a doubleheader. And so the second game of the doubleheader, I sat home in the family room watching the game on TV, on the phone, talking to a man in the office who then relayed my message, whatever the comment was, to a girl who was able to reduce it to, I don't know, it's 140 characters or something like that. and then she would release it. And the people went wild on the Internet. It was like, oh, my gosh, Scully knows how to tweet. And it was very funny, and the people got a big kick out of it. But do I use that? No, not at all, no.
I like you even more, Vin, because you don't know about tweeting and hashtags. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I admit it. I mean, I can get one of my grandchildren, and they'll explain a whole bunch of stuff. But I use my cell phone basically as a telephone, and that's it. So that's about where I am.
If you look at your style, if you were just coming up trying to get in the business, how do you think the executives would view your style of broadcasting?
Well, you know, that's a great question, and it's also a great point. When you begin, the best advice I ever got about broadcasting was from Red Barber. And my very first year, and here is this kid, wide-eyed, suddenly going to be broadcasting whatever inning or innings with this fabled Brooklyn Dodger baseball team. And Red said to me, you know, young man, you bring something into the booth that no one else in the world can bring. Well, I was pop-eyed. Me? I brought something. I said, I don't understand. What? And he said, yourself. There's no one else in this world quite like you. Now, in New York, my gosh, you had Mel Allen and Kurt Gowdy were a team. You had Russ Hodges, and then, of course, Red and Connie Desmond. So New York had these marvelous group of announcers. And what Red said was, don't listen to any of them, because if you do, either consciously or subconsciously, you will try to imitate. You'll either pick up phrases, you'll change the intonation, whatever. And what he was telling me was, if you do, you'll be watering your own wine. So although I could have learned a great deal, I'm sure, I tried very hard to not to listen to other people. But that took several years before me, whatever is inside of me, finally surfaced. So the hardest advice you can give to a young fella beginning is to say, be yourself. And, of course, the greatest lesson in life is to know thyself, and it takes a long time, and the same thing applies. So when I first started, if I just walked in and I'm competing against all the major league ball players who are now in the business, I'm not sure what they would think of me. They might think, well, he has a nice voice and a reasonable vocabulary, but I would have to prove myself, I'm sure, very, very hard.
What's the first thing to go on a play-by-play announcer?
Well, I hope I don't really know, but if I had to think, the ball player, his coordination starts to go. Whether it's a fellow who was a pull hitter, hit everything to left field, all of a sudden he's late on the fastball. He can't get around on it, and his balls are now being hit in center field or left center or right center. It's obvious if you charted every base hit, you could see this pull hitter where all of his hits were bunched up in one direction. And then as the years go by, that bunch suddenly fans out a great deal. And as it fans out, Branch Rickey used to do that. And he'd see where it's just starting to fan, and he'd trade the player. That was his secret. So I guess for a play-by-play man who depends on the coordination of eye, brain, and mouth, sooner or later, that coordination has to weaken from age. Suddenly you're behind on the plays. You're not quite remembering all of the players who are involved in a six-man rundown. And after a while, I'm sure, I even now, and I don't mean that I'm one so rare that I don't have it, there are times I'm a very severe critic, and there are many times where I'll get in the car and say, you used to be able to do that play so much easier than you did it tonight. Bear down, So I guess that's what happens.
Good luck twitting, okay? And
yeah, I will. And if you ever send me a picture of a hashtag, I'd love it.
Vin, thank you. It's been a treat.
All right. My pleasure, Dan. Thank you.
Vin Scully, longtime Dodger announcer.